So welcome to Bundy's Designs. Hi guys, this is part 2. Oh, sorry, Melody. I'm going through a funny stage, but I did desperately want to finish this, but I forgot about that. Just bear with me. Melody was asking me about colouring in books. I'm still trying to get my colour books. Sometimes I'm finding it difficult to colour when I see other people. So let me take this out. I've just scratched. I did draw a rough in pencil earlier. I actually prefer those mushrooms, I think. But I'll yes, I'll work with this one. What I want to do is to just get a few coloured in. So I'll colour this one in. Probably take me an hour or two. And then this afternoon, also mind you, it's 1 o'clock now in the UK. I picked out a couple of colour books. Oopsie. I don't know if I started one. Just bear with me 2 seconds. As I say, I'm going through, I don't know if anybody else has found this. I'm going through a really funny stage about colour books. Yes, I did start this one, didn't I? I think I started this one. I did this one last. Yes, so this is with these watercolours. I did this one with the watercolours. I thought that was quite sweet. That very pale colours. Not usually I can do stronger colours. I think this is either Peerless. I think this is Peerless, this one. Excuse me. I do like them. I've just got an obsession with these brushes. Oh, excuse me. The thing is, it's so... I've disturbed that now, it's dusty. Oh, excuse me. I think when you're doing something, I think your art changes slightly. And at the moment, because I've been doing other things with my hands, they're not as good as they were. Oh, excuse me. So I think working in a kind of an easy way. Sorry, guys, I just moved something. It must have been dusty. Oh dear, excuse me. So I don't know if you go through a funny phase, if anybody else goes through this, but I get obsessed with things, and I'm obsessed with my mushrooms at the moment. And I'm also conscious of the fact that I didn't know that they would work as a colour book, and I was panicking. And by playing about with things and finding different elements, but what this is leading to is eventually there'll, as I say, be a bigger watercolor one. So I've kind of used it on lots and lots of different things, different papers and cards and things. Oh, sorry guys, I don't know why I started to cough. Apologize if you're watching on YouTube, just fast forward it a bit. I might just have to finish my coffee. I must have moved something that was dusty. And the other thing is, I don't know if I like working with them in colour books, whether it's because I'm a tight Yorkshire lass and I enjoyed working with them, but I can't do the detail that I want to do with these, and I think I want to do detail. If does that make sense? So I want detail, and I want to paint like I used to do, and I don't want to color books anymore. I did, as I say, apologies. I just find that I want to color my color books. And I'm also practicing because, as I say, I didn't think they would work. There's some elements of them that I could not get to work. And I'd drawn them in pencil, I'd drawn them in line drawings, I'd drawn them in grey shade, and nothing seemed to work. But I think by playing about with colouring them in, I'm working kind of backwards, if that does that make sense. So I was really conscious of the fact that I didn't think I could ever get these out as a book for other people to color, because it's kind of my drawing. I didn't think people would want to color it, and I couldn't see it being colored, if that makes any sense. But this is helping me, so I'm just drawing a few little circles, but I know we can turn it into a blackberry, whereas I couldn't see that before, so I didn't think anybody else would want to. And I hope that makes sense. Oh, hi Star, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else popping in? So I hope that makes sense. So what I'm trying to do is, I mean, all these, I'm using different papers, but I'm using my images. But you can do this with ordinary watercolors. You just have to get them to this state, which is quite easy. All you have, why I bought the full set. I have really fallen in love with these, and they are so easy to use that even the fact that I might not be good, it's very rare I buy things you cannot refill. I think that's why I don't like markers as much. I don't like markers because you've got all these gorgeous colours, and next time you blink, they've gone. But I have really like the colour books. So I've got almost 700 videos up. Most of them are colour books. I would say 3/4 of them are colour books. So there's one or two to go around, and I've used, but I really do not have the inspiration to colour anybody's work. Now, I think that's because I was going through a bad time, and that's why colouring is good, because it did what I wanted to do. I picked a colouring book up and I've coloured it, and it's been therapy for me. But I'm trying to do my own art back again, and it's very difficult to colour somebody else's work in, especially now I can see my doodles coming into something. I hope that makes sense, guys. I really do hope that makes sense. And I was going to see if I could try to do that, but I pick up a colour book and I just don't want to do it, and I apologise for that. I just for whatever reason, I just do not want to do it. I can't explain why. I'm not a therapist. I can't explain why. I'm just really absolutely loving this this very simple process. So let's get back to our little flowers. So I hope that answered some questions. I've got them all next to me. And I can't think of one I want to colour in. It's just I don't understand why. I don't understand why. It always did bother me that I was colouring somebody else's work in. It always did. I didn't like it at all. Not the idea of it. And I got a nasty comment from somebody about being ashamed that I have an art degree when I'm colouring somebody else's work in. And that really hurt, did that. But then I was doing it for therapy, for me. But that really did kind of knock me for six. did that remark from somebody from Spain, I think, somewhere. I didn't expect that. I did delete the message, but I just thought, okay, fine. He said, I wouldn't brag if you got a degree in art when you're colouring in, because your colouring in's not that good. Sorry, I just think it's funny. I think it's funny. But I do want to go back to the art. But again, I have that huge canvas that's in the way. You can see on the other video. I think it's 5 foot by 5 foot. And I so want to paint, but you know, it's all wrist action. It's all big movement. It's not. It's almost like a workout is doing something that big, and I just can't do that. I just can't do that. But I'm hopefully, you know, if you see a mushroom, you can use the same technique. It's a technique that I'm trying to get people to say, you know. And again, I didn't think that I could get my little circles to look like a blackberry, and that's what was stopping me with the colour book, but I can now. Again, I didn't like this little flower here, but now I've coloured it. I really think it's such a delicate little doodle, but I didn't like it when I first did it, and a lot of the others I didn't like. Again, I'm learning to like what I'm doing, if that makes any sense. Oh, hi, Kimberly. Everybody else, I've missed popping in. This is an impromptu Saturday, and it's good because everybody's gone out and get somebody to sign off and give you your deposit back. And then you have to race across Manchester to your other house and wait for the same process for the people coming out so that you can move in. And that's what hubby's gone to do. So, oh, thank you, darling. Thank you. So I hope that although I'm not colouring somebody else's work in, I'm colouring in, if that makes any sense. And for some really strange reason, I absolutely adore these markers. But I would say just buy 6, or if you can afford it, I would buy the set of 12, because you have a nice little tin that come in. And you can cut, I mean, I've got some, this is just a top, plastic top. If you cut something like this, it's got to be rigid plastic or a plastic lid. But this one I would have cut and put into the lid of the markers. So you have the markers there and you have a little plastic lid, and I would put a piece of white paper behind so that you can see your colours. And that's what I did. I'm just desperately not trying to wet anything. And so you've got a plastic palette, you've got a couple of brushes, and you've got your colours. But because I'm sure it was a few months, but I do get a bit confused. I used my 6 colours, and then I did see at Casa they had them in a set for not much more than the 6, because they're about a £5. Sorry, they're £3.99 each. They're about £4 each. And this set of 12, I think at Casa is about £32, £35 at the moment. Oh, bye, Darla. Thank you. Oh, that sounds. Oh, well, if you pick the blueberries, you can. Oh, picking blueberries, you can draw something. Oh, blueberries might be good because they're a dull purple, aren't they? Have a wonderful day. Thanks for popping by. So I've bought this Amazon Gremlin Struck Again. And I decided that I did want the full set. So, and I was a bit disgruntled because although they do have a set for 24 markers, Winsor & Newton don't have a set for this. So this in a reusable bag, which is quite nice. It's a UTRO 80 slot PU leather marker case. So it has the set handle. It's 3 inches deep, I think. It's got the strap as well, very similar to the other ones with the pencils. This is not quite as wide, but it's wider than the others. Some have just got the markers. So where the markers are, that's the size of the sleeves. Let me see if I can get that into there. This one was bigger, and the reason I wanted it bigger is I wanted to get my paintbrushes in it. So at this side, I have, and it has a double zip, so it does open flat, which is nice. A spray water and my water bottles. I've got some pencils for drawing. I've got all my rotary pens with black, blue, and white ink in. I filled these pens in this section here so that I've got my colour, favourite colour, light to dark. So I've got yellows, oranges, reds, pinks, purples, blues, greens. And then on the other side, I have my browns, sepias, and blacks. And then on the back, I've got my paintbrushes. Now I'm going to turn the other way up because although they're this way up this time, when I flip it over, they'll be upside down. So I wanted to get my brushes in here. I think I might take one or two out, but most of them I can leave in and they'll fit because it goes to here when I turn them up like that. But the handle's at the bottom, so they'll be upside down. So I need to turn them the other way. But in this section here, when it, I can fit my Windsor & Newton Series 7 professional brushes. And I have another couple of brushes that I use. The Artmaster Pearl Series 55 and 11 and the Dana Rowney Graduate series as well. So I've kind of pushed those in there and they sit quite nicely in the middle and it will shut. So I've got some paintbrushes. I've got my watercolors. I'm going to have a little flat water pot. And I can fit a sketchbook in there as well. So I'm going to be a happy girl. And as I say, this is the actual outer cover and it has Velcro on it. So you can actually trap it outside and it works quite well. So I did look at it very, very, very kind of in depth and I measured things and I zoomed in and counted the different loops. I wanted my colours in a particular way, so I needed to have exactly that amount of loops when I can open up and see all my colours. And the sepias and the brown tones and the greys would be at the back, so that would be fine. So it works quite well for me. And I do like this little plastic, although I want a ceramic one. I do like this little plastic. You can still buy them for a couple of pounds. And then you can wipe them off. I do have a little thin pack somewhere. I have a thin pack of things. Everything's disappeared all of a sudden. So I like to be kind of, everything's got to be easy for me now. Oh, hi, I say, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else popping in? This is an impromptu Saturday, but I wanted to work on through all these Canson pads that I'd bought to practice to see how well they cope with my Windsor & Newton watercolours. But of course, you can use any watercolours as long as you use them the same consistency, which is kind of not really wet on wet, but wet on dry. But I don't think I'm going to use them on the Bible page. I like my Derwent watercolour pencils for that. I think they're too strong. I think they were just a bit too strong, but I might try a page a bit later. But I bought several different pads of Canson paper so that we can see what will go through the printer and what's best for the colour book pages. So part one was the berries, and I did put some masking fluid. I don't know if you can see it now. There we go, a bit of shine. So some masking fluid on certain bells and things. I'm going to try the little bells. Now, I did put the masking fluid on there, but I think I might try with it without, because we don't all like faffing about with masking fluid. And I must admit, if I was out and about, I wouldn't like to be getting the top off and messing about with it, really. I like to have some things really simple. And at the moment, I'm just using two brushes. I'm using a number 3 and a 2-0 of my Series 7 Windsor Newton watercolor brushes. Oh, thank you, AC. Thank you. Bye, guys. Enjoy your berry picking, Darla. Have a wonderful afternoon. There seems to be still quite a lot of colour on there, but I want to do this. I can't remember what colour I used, so let's think of some more colours. I think I've used I think I'm going to use some cerulean blue. And that one I think is phthalo blue, so phthalo blue green shade. That's that one. Yes, that's phthalo blue green shade. I don't want turquoise, I don't think. Although turquoise might be quite nice. Just have a bit of turquoise. And again, just the size of a dime or a penny, 5p. Don't scratch too much. You can reuse it, but it just messes up your colour palette. And mine's looking quite messy as it is. So on the first one I did on Thursday, I built up the colours quite nicely. So again, it's a doodle, so it's not technically supposed to look like anything. So let's do that one. And again, it's very warm in here at the moment, unfortunately. So that's quite. Oh, that's quite nice. I actually quite like the turquoisey colour. And that would be quite nice because it means I can keep the blue for the cornflower blue, for the blue bells. So we could build these colours up quite nicely. And have just a bit of a highlight on top, of course. And I think I'd want to use indigo again, I think, as my dark colour. Excuse me. So you can build up lots and lots of different colours. So, although Prussian blue, actually I might use, instead of indigo, because that's cold, Prussian blue is quite cold, but it's still a blue. And of course, even though there's only 36 colours, I would think you've got at least 10 tones from that. So I've got my little bit of paper here. So if you water down Prussian blue, now only because of where I am at the moment in the UK, having a bit of a heat wave, so it's extremely warm, and it wouldn't normally dry that quick, I don't think. So we can. And I just love the fact that you can scribble a little bit of pen. Now, obviously, you don't have to put the markers away every single time. But it is still quite easy to do that. So my paintbrushes are drying out very quickly, really quickly. So So thank you for watching, and thanks on YouTube as well. This is a live show. It's recorded for Ustream. Still trying to work out what's what with YouTube, having left Ustream, which was wonderful, but it is so much easier to upload when you've already been recording on YouTube, I have to say. Just see if I can water that down a little bit. And this paper's really well behaved, I have to say. It's working out really well. I mean, although it said it was a sketchbook, it's actually working really well as watercolor. It's doing very well. Oh, you could just build up that color. Just have that highlight on that bit. So we can do all sorts of things. I'm going to leave that to dry a little bit more. So this particular one here, I think I used the red and I've used purple. So we'll get some purple. Just 3 little dots of it. And I think it's mauve. I think I've got pink and mauve on there. So a clean brush. And I think I'm going to go in with my little 00 brush actually. I just want the tips. So if you put the brush down and flick up, you're going to get some nice little things. So I'll zoom in a bit and we can have a look. Excuse me. We can have a look at a bit more detailed. Because so mixing that mauve and purple together, and just flipping. I hope you can see that. Just move this. I've got a wobbly table, sorry guys. Wobbly table. I'm on the sofa again. And we want just a wisp. Just a wisp. Just a wisp of colour there. So they're almost like carnations, these, I think. I don't actually know what wildflower I was looking at. I shall have to have another look, but I like the fact that they're quite dainty. And then we can fill that middle in. And unfortunately, my paintbrush is drying out really quickly. So again, it's a nice, peaceful way to work. I've actually got 3 more here to do, so 4 more. I'd forgotten I did another one. So we'll see by just adding water how And I would think you need your hand actually resting on your paper for this. But my hand does shake a bit now. So again, that's another reason wouldn't probably be safe with my other bottles of watercolor. Sometimes you have to adapt to things when they happen, and my hands have started to shake. So, and I can't get the tops off my professional watercolor. So I'm going to sort out the pans and see if I can kind of mess about with those. But as I say, I bought 6 of these and I love them. I love mixing the colors, but again, mixing is a bit of a pest for me. So bought the set from Casa of 12, and then thought they are so easy and so nice to just scratch a bit of color. And bearing in mind there's 36 in the set of these Winsor Newton watercolor professional light fast watercolor markers, but there's at least 10 if not 20 shades by adding water, and then you can add every color to every other color, so the possibilities are endless. Remember, from 3 printer ink colors I got 600 as a video that I've got, making 600 colors. Now the video quality is terrible, but it does show you how to use 3 colors for 630 some, I think there are. You see, that's the difference between that one and that one. And my color's gone. So instead of mixing more, I've messed that up. But never mind, I shall get some more. So we've got dioxazine purple, 3 little strokes of that, and 3 strokes of mauve, and a damp, wet 00 brush. So let's see if we can make this one any better now. Here we go. Again, so therapeutic, very little effort. That you can do this all day, and you can do this in practically any color book. This particular dampness you can do in any color book. So again, it's not just for watercolor paper. This particular temperature will, whoops, wrong side, guys. So this is a 00. And I think I'm going to use dioxazine purple and a little bit of phthalo green red shade. And that's going to give me a beautiful shadow. Yeah, just 2 parts dioxazine purple to 1 part phthalo green red shade. And I think that's going to give me a beautiful dark. It's not quite a carmine, this. It's another color to use. Just to give it a bit of contrast. And as I say, it's very warm today, so I like that blue. It's kind of, it's a purple, but it's not a warm purple. It's not a red purple. It's almost a French ultramarine, actually. It's a purple blue. And of course, over the top of that looks really, really pretty, that one. I think I prefer that one than I do the others. So we'll just have a play with the others and see if we can get this one to look the same. Bear with me a second, guys. I'm not as savvy as I was with chat. So apologies for that. I need to kind of probably will be easier if I had the laptop in front of me, which it will be when I get in the studio. So, and I think I do like this this kind of blue. So anybody got any questions? So thanks guys for popping by. This is an impromptu Saturday, so thanks for watching on YouTube. If you like anything, please like and subscribe. Actually, that does look a bit darker, that one on there. And if you've got any requests, something you've seen, I think I like them with that little bit of darker blue. I do like the purple one, but I think I like that little bit of kind of coolness about it. So if you've got any questions, guys, pop them in caps and then I can, it catches my attention. Although I quite fancy going with Darla picking blueberries. So have a wonderful afternoon, whatever you're doing. Oopsie. You need the right consistency, so if your brush is too dry, it won't flip, and if it's too wet, you'll get too much. So you better practice a little bit first. And this colour's going quite a long way, actually. It's doing quite well, I think. Oops, there we go. I don't like that there. I've made a bit of a boo-boo, so I'm just going to bit of artistic license and kind of and you can get rid of the black line as well, which sometimes I quite like to do. And we've got those three. I like that colour, I have to say, but then I think they do pop a little bit better with that little bit of darker purple through. Or almost, I would call that the French ultramarine. And I think the reason there isn't a French ultramarine, because I don't think it's light fast. It's the only reason I think that they haven't put it in. But we can make it with dioxazine purple and cerulean blue. But of course, I've used phthalo blue red shade, which I haven't found anywhere else. I've seen a blue shade and a green shade, but I've never seen a phthalo blue red shade. And of course, I've mixed that with my dioxazine purple, and it's given me a purple blue, which technically is. I quite like those. They're growing on me. Kind of like those. So now I've given this a big rest because it was quite wet. I should go back to there now. Just got to keep an eye that you don't mess your brushes up. I think I'm going to. I think I really do like that phthalo blue colour and turquoise. I think I'm going to kind of stick with that. It's going to be different, but it doesn't bother me. I almost think it's a cobalt blue, the actual blue flower. But remember, these were doodles. Let's see if we can find the flower. You can recognise some of them that I've drawn. But what I was doing was creating a doodle. And the doodle, I forgot what I was looking for now. The doodle was so that I could redraw this, any shape, any size, and it's become a doodle, so I don't have to think about it. And because I don't have to think about it, it's a doodle. One of those was the blue, but that I don't think that's the blue. This was the blue here. So we look at this one. This one is that's a purple blue, and that's a blue purple. So that's like a French ultramarine, and that's a bit like no, it's just a purple. This is French ultramarine. I've turned mine to turquoise, so I'm not really bothered but that's the colour it should be. And when I did it the other day, I did it the blues. And I didn't do the turquoisey colour, but I should be fine. We can play. It doesn't matter. We're actually testing the paper today. We're not testing the colours. Testing the paper. And of course, everybody can colour anything, whatever colour they want. So again, it's not, this is how we have to do it. It's just, this is how we could do it. So if you wanted to spend a couple of dollars on or a couple of pounds on my mushroom page, you download it, you either print it out on printer paper and trace it, and it's an easy trace. It's not going to be difficult. It's not on paper. It's a single soft pencil that you can do with an HB Kids pencil. This is tracing paper or parchment, whichever's easier. Oh, I kind of like that. It's growing on me now, that, I think. And then you can trace it onto watercolor paper or thick card or whatever you want to work on. I think that's going to work the best, because everybody has their own preference when it comes to paper and watercolor paper. So I think that's probably what we're going to do. I'm going to pinch a little bit of oh, this is Prussian blue. Let's have a look at Prussian blue. We'll have a bit of Prussian blue. I think that might kind of really, I'm going to go to a smaller brush, I think. Although, no, I may not do, because it goes to a nice point. Just pick up a bit of this. And it's going to take the turquoisey bit off, I think. We have a Betsy in the room. She's quite warm in there, but I'm not sure she'll stay in here or not. I do like, if I can, to get rid of so just laughing at Bungle hanging off. Bungle's got quite large, bless him. And Bungle update, if you're squeamish, put the radio on for a second. He's not as snotty as he was, bless him, so fingers crossed. He's not quite as snotty as he was. I don't think I like these bells, but we can't always have everything perfect, can we? So I'm not happy with the colour, and I'm not happy with the tones and the shades. Betsy's thinking about not running away. Got a bit of a hanging basket going on there as well, so I'm just going to attempt the hanging basket. I'm still working with a 2 and a 00. So I'm going to use my yellow ochre. I think yellow ochre and the number 3 brush. Oh, she's calling Bungle. It's a Bungle. Bungle's not listening. No, mummy, sorry. Yeah, she doesn't like him when he's not with her. She's turned into a real mom. Bungle's upside down. Oh, he's gonna go to see his mummy because she's crying. Bearing in mind he's in a fur coat and it's 100 degrees in there. Hi, Bong. Hi, Bungle. Yeah, he's gonna go see. Say, I'm in here, mummy. Look. Pixies. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna go there. It's a bit warm. So, if we put purple. Ooh. It's a soil color. Is that I've put a little bit of the purple with yellow ochre. Let's just turn that down a little bit. So we need some greenery now. Do we need some greenery? Oh, we've got our yellow teapot. Let's do our yellow teapot. Don't like the blue flowers. Don't like the blue flowers, but we do it. It's a funny shaped little teapot. I'm going to use yellow ochre. I did use yellow. I don't think it's gamboge. I'm going to use some sienna. Again, just a couple of scratches. Just a couple of scratches. Not much. What am I doing? That one's burnt sienna, and I think I'm going to just put a little bit of raw umber. I think. Oh, I forgot what I was doing. I was doing a teapot, but never mind. I think I'm going to use the small brush. So this one was gamboge, I think. So I'm going to put a bit of yellow ochre and kind of. I did get a bit of a highlight on there. Just see if we can make this pot round. So yellow ochre. And mix in a little bit of sienna. I'm just trying to make that a little bit warmer. So it's a copper kettle. Oh, bye, V. Thank you for stopping by. Have a wonderful afternoon. Maybe I should have done with a slightly bigger brush. So I'm going to mix all those browns together a bit now. Just keep building up more and more. And I think we can just, if we water this down, we can bring this over here. And I think I'm going to have a little bit of sepia so I can kind of really get, maybe burnt umber might have been better, but let's just have a look. I'm actually putting raw sienna and burnt sienna together, so actually I've probably made a burnt umber, so it's not as dark. Make this pot a bit rounder. And the nice thing about doing this is we get rid of our black sketching line, which is always quite nice. And because we're now just as dark as that, we can round the pot off a bit. Oh, thanks, guys. I hope you're all okay. What's everybody doing today? Having some colouring or sitting in the sun? We've got this heat wave going off in the UK at the moment. And again, there's something quite nice about building up colours. And I'm really not using a terrible lot amount of colour. I can just make this pot a bit rounder. And I really am just picking up barely bits of this and just kind of stroking them in a bit here. So we're building up some quite nice darks. We've got started with some lights and now we've got some quite nice darks. And again, we could change that teapot size. So we put a little bit of more sepia out. 3 little strokes of sepia, some yellow ochre. Oh, I'm going darker, and some burnt sienna is going to warm up that sepia until the very last shadow, which is going to be the darkest. So again, just test it on the side there, make sure it's okay. Picked up some sepia now. And I think we might actually change the pot. So we can change that pot now. And just very carefully, almost with a dirty colour, just bring that in a bit. So we've got a little rounded pot. And let's keep that little tiny highlight on there. And really, I should look at the handle to make sure that it's not too much of a highlight. I think there's too much of a highlight going on there, but again, you can just knock that down. Just got a bit of a highlight on there. So we've got our teapot. Very carefully, we're going to have, and it dried, so I kind of like that idea. So we can now have the ivy. Sorry guys, I just got to move that very carefully. And I must move that little thing because it's got a bit wet now. I'm going to put that onto there because it's got a bit wet. So let's have a look at the greens. I think I might want to make my own. I want to make my own green. Let's get some gamboge and we'll put it with Hooker's green. And I'm going to go to my light, larger brush, sorry. And we're going to pick up a bit and see. Now, because it's gamboge, we're getting an olivey colour. So I can dot that in. I think I like the variegated. I know it's a very pale colour. Now I've got quite a dark green. So and because it's not a real leaf, this, I can't do too much to it. It's not like the berries we can kind of bring to life. We can't do that with the ivies really. So pick up some of this teapot colour, and I've made probably a raw sienna, sorry, a raw umber, browny colour. And then with my 00, I can put a shadow in there. Or sepia. So if I'd have made that too small, I can put it on the other side of the line, or if it's too big, I can put it on the inside of the line. Either way, I get my shadow. Oh, hi Sandra. Anybody else popping in? Welcome to Blaze Designs. This is impromptu Saturday. I was hoping to do most Saturdays, but with one thing and another, we'll have to see. But hopefully we'll try to do most Saturdays and Sundays. We'll just have a bit. Oh, I've left a leaf there. Just have to go back, see if I can pick up this green here. A bit of this green to just touch that. As I say, it is a practice. I wonder if you can get a dark down behind here, because I think these will make these pop out. So I like them with white. I think I'm just going to bring out a cheaper brush. A bit bigger brush, maybe. This is a Pro Art Series 201, and it's designed to hold a fair amount of water, I think. So again, oh, see if I have to clean it first. So if I put that one next to my, it doesn't look, oh, sorry guys, it doesn't look a lot bigger. This is a Pro Art number 5, so let's see what this one looks like. Yeah, that's a bit better. So basically, I've got my 20, I've got my number 3, sorry, number 2, and I have got, oh, I wonder why it was a bit small. Number 2, not number 3. And this one is a Pro Art 5. So I thought that was a bit small, but anyway, never mind. We're going to play with this one. And, I want some sepia, and this is about the size of a 10p this time because I want some darks in there. And I'm going to put a little bit of Hooker's green in there as well. But not very thick, just a little bit. What I'm going to try and do here is build up a bit of a watercolor effect. I think this can do this. So mix a bit of the green with a bit of the sepia. And let's see if we can, oops, wrong moment to take brush tiny. Of course, what you could do, I could do now. I never thought of that. Let me just do this. What I could have done is masked over the top and see if it worked. That's what I could have done. In theory, it should work. I don't know if you bring it off or not, but anyway. See, I don't normally do that. So if I put my brush into water, I kind of want a bit of a green in there. There's quite a lot of water on there. You see, now it's a different color because I've added to it. But never mind. Let's see if we can just make these pop out a bit. I mean, there's no reason why you can't do this. I might do this on the next one because, again, I wasn't really particularly going for backgrounds. But when we get to the watercolor paper, we can actually mask out everything and do a really dark background. But I didn't think you could do this on this paper because it doesn't say it's watercolor paper, but it's actually behaving quite well. And of course, once you do this round something that's got a white tint, it makes it look so much nicer. This is really roughly done, guys, so just, you need to take your time. But I just wanted to show, I'll have a look at what it looked like when it had obviously the hedgerow dark background on it. So if you're watching on YouTube, please, if you've got any suggestions about colour books and preparing colour books and publishing colour books and paper to print on that it may be thin enough to go through a printer to make it easier. But I like the idea that everybody can kind of copy the actual shapes but put them in their own composition, if that makes any sense. Which you can possibly do when you're tracing. So they do pop out quite nicely when you show them with the background. The white looks really nice. So I can get that sepia. And this isn't really a darker. It isn't really a dark colour, isn't this? Now, let's see if we can put the sepia actually on here. Let's see what happens if we go through, what we shouldn't do. Here we are. Here we've got the sepia. Oopsie, dropped my paintbrush. And then quite a wet paintbrush. You see that it disappears. How wonderful is that? It's beautiful, that. So, although this paper said it was just extra strength, you can get some quite nice effects. And I'm working really wet now. It's crinkling a little bit, but and see how those pop. So this is sepia. It's very dark and it's moving. I haven't got a line where I was drawing it on. So you can get a beautiful dark effect from that. And I don't want to waste that, so I'm just going to draw that around. And of course it will make everything pop out a bit better because it doesn't have that stark background against it. So everything always looks better when it has a background. And the teapot, if it had a darker background, the teapot would kind of scrum out. So that's actually led us quite nicely into the mushrooms. Oh, thank you, Sandra. Thank you. It depends on what hubby's doing, but I said because everybody's out, the dogs behave, everybody behaves. We've got a bungle. Betsy's in the shade, but Bungle's here because it is far too hot for him out there. It will be far too hot for him. So I'm going to pop that one up there. Keep my sable handy. I kind of like that. I think I'm going to have a look at a mushroom now. We'll do a mushroom and then we'll take the mushroom things off. So we've been about an hour, so it's not the quickest of things. I think I'm going to use this deep. Now I'm going to experiment, seeing as we've done other things with these. So let's have a look. These Windsor and Newton watercolor markers have a brush tip and a bullet tip, and the bullet tip is a bit smaller, so I don't tend to use that one. I tend to be able to get the tops off this. It's easier for me. So what I'm going to do is show you how versatile these are. Now this is sketchbook. It was sketchbook. It's not watercolor paper, but there is a picture of a paintbrush. So I've kind of wet that, and if I'm quick, you can see it's wet. So I'm just going to do it again, purely because now it's buckling because it's not watercolor paper. And then I'm just going to put this into here and push it around. And you can tell the difference between a synthetic brush and a sable brush. And you can see now they're very highly pigmented, so you've got to be a bit careful with, and I can't scrub too much. See, if this was watercolor paper, I could scrub a bit more, but I can't. So I'm just going to actually scrub that onto the palette and take that down. And then put some more down here. And you can see the paper scrubbing a bit, and that's because it's not watercolor paper. But I'm going to let that dry and we'll see what happens with that. I just want to experiment, but it's still doing very well for non-watercolor paper. It is. I think it's too thick to go through the printer, but it depends on your printer. Right, let's tackle these berries and let that one dry now. So berries, here we go. So we've got, I have to put that up there. Sorry guys. Right, so I'm going to put my I'm going to put cadmium red hue and Elysian crimson. So of course you can do this in any colour. So I've got my number 2 sable brush and mix around. Can I just put that over there? Let me just see what I'm doing. So I've got Elysian crimson. Do have a damp brush. Let's have a bit of a practice. Yeah, it's a nice colour. So remember, I've got masking fluid on these berries. So this is my first colour. Oops. So kind of like that. So I'm going to let that dry a smidgen. What else have I got that's pink? I've also got my strawberries down here. So very carefully. I've still got this colour. Add some water to it. Still really well pigmented. There's a lot of colour still on there. Cannot express how much these are pigmented. They really are. Now, that's probably a bit too pinky red for me for strawberries, but never mind. We're going to use that up and we'll change the colour slightly with our next. You can call it a layer, you can call it a glaze, or a layer, whichever you want to call it. And love the fact that I'm using up, and this is just one flat colour. I'm not creating a watercolour. It's just a flat colour. And I'm very boring. This is how I work in oils. I work oils, acrylics, very boring. Consistency of this is consistency of single cream, but I normally work consistency of double cream. Very boring. Use the same, almost the same method in oils and acrylics. Apart from watercolor, you have to protect your lights and your whites. Of course, acrylics you can do darks and lights. I actually kind of like that color, but it's a bit too like those. So I'm going to use some cadmium red hue. And although the mushroom or toadstool has buckled, and it's almost dry, it has buckled, but again, it's not watercolor paper. It was a very wet wash I put on there. So go back to the strawberries, and I've got cadmium red hue, my number 2. I'm not going to use it too. I've got a wet brush, but I'm using the tip. So I think I could tone these strawberries down. Maybe a bit more water. It's very warm in this room. And of course, we need to take these away from the pink of the mushroom, even though we started with the same pinky red. So we'll put our green next to it, and then we'll take the masking fluid off. See how it's behaved, and we've just got enough to do our last one here. And I'm just going to move up slightly to the berries. And just kind of put an extra layer around the berries. And let them dry. Oh, hi, Sammy. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else popping in? Oh, thanks, guys. Thank you. So we're having a bit of a play with my dirt watercolours. Sorry, not my dirt. It's my Windsor Newton watercolour markers. So we've been playing about with those. I'll zoom out and you can see what we've got so far. Oh, thank you, Sammy. Thank you. So welcome, everybody. Just having a... We've done the little copper kettle. Let's see how far we get onto there. So we've done our copper kettle or metal kettle. A couple of berries, some little tiny flowers, and we're just playing with the strawberries. But because this is dried, very warm in the UK at the minute. Oh, let's find our new toy. I made a little tiny eraser, and it's actually made of masking fluid. And I find that if you very carefully just stroke, it'll bring the masking fluid off, and it should stick. It should stick. Now, I haven't taken it off here yet. And again, stroke, and we'll take it off there. And I must behave, this Bristol paper's worked quite well. I can also, this was a very wet wash. Now, it is a little bit damp, but very, very carefully. Small circular motions. The little... It's brought that off quite nicely. It was a bit wet, actually. I should have left it a bit longer. I can make a mess on the floor for hubby to take up later. Oops. So my little eraser goes back. It should get bigger. It should get bigger with more masking fluid, but it's easier to take off than rubbing it off into bits, which has just happened. So I think it's because the paper wasn't all dry, but it'll be fine. This is an experiment on this Canson heavyweight drawing paper, but because it had a brush sign on it, I'm using it quite strong. So if anybody's got any questions, pop them in caps, guys, if you please, and then I know you're talking to me, and I don't have to ignore anybody. It's working really well, this paper. This is for my colour book, to make sure that I'm doing the right thing and I'm using the right colours. And so I'm going back to my cadmium red, and I just love the fact you scratch a little bit of colour and you get a beautiful, and this is cadmium red hue. We're getting you an orange red now, because I've got some cherry reds, so I think I want this. So this one's my number 2 Series 7 Professional Sable brush. So I'm going to mix these two together and then just have a bit of a test. That's quite nice. So I've got a highlight here, but obviously it's not going to be exactly there. So again, we need to make these strawberries round now. So I can bring that round. And if there's a highlight on that side, sorry, Bungle's having a play. Might be a bit of a highlight on that one. I've moved my water pot so it's in the way now. So, and then under there is not going to be too light. We need a bit more. Not using very much of these, but so it's a cadmium red hue, and then we have cadmium red deep. And very good strawberry colours, I think. So I need to be playing with this particular one. And again, sometimes when you get I just want the tiniest touch of a highlight on there. And kind of build that up a little bit. And I do have some nice colour on this brush, so being a tight Yorkshire lass. Oh, palette's gone. But luckily I didn't have anything wet on it, so that was good apart from that one. That was okay. So I'm a bit of a clumsy girl, which is another reason I like these marker pens, these professional watercolor marker pens. So again, we can think about that highlight now and get rid of it. I seem to have got a bit of masking fluid on there, but I'll get that off. So these want to be slightly pinkier than our strawberries. But of course you can do them whatever colour you want. And we've got some little fronds on there as well. So just using this bit of colour. And again, I do like that. I keep messing about with the colours, adding a bit of green to make a dark shadow. Different highlight in a different place, because obviously the light's going to hit them all differently. And just keep now somewhere there should be, oopsie, I haven't got it. Let me see. Oh, that's what fell. Sorry guys, that's what fell. My little wet serviette, that's what fell. Sorry, it's not a serviette, beg your pardon. It's actually a hand wipe, because it's going in my little set with me, so I don't have to carry a big baby wipe or face wipe. So I want to go back in there, but I've got my number 2 Windsor Newton Sable professional watercolor brush. And I'm going to bring out some more cadmium deep. And this time I'm going to bring out a little bit of dioxazine purple and Hooker's green. But I think that's the wrong green. I think I'm going to use that was Hooker's green deep. This is Hooker's green. And basically 2 or 3 little strokes is all you need really. So it's wet. I'm going to pick up a bit of that. So you can do 2 things. You can add a little bit of purple. So that's like a carmine now. That's going to be my shadow. for my berry, or my berries. And again, I haven't got very much, but you don't really need much, just building it up a small amount at a time. I really could do with my water pot over this side, but never mind, it just, again, just the tiniest bit. And again, I really like working like this. It's peaceful. I am working with watercolors, but I don't have a lot of watercolors about. I've just got a little palette here, and I really like that. The wettest thing I've got, apart from my little water pot here, is a damp baby wipe, face wipe. So again, absolutely love working like this. And you can build up some nice colours. So that's the purple, and that was the red. So we've got almost like a burnt carmine. And remember what I said about burnt carmine? It's a beautiful, beautiful shadow for a red. So I shall leave that to dry a little bit and work into it again. So clean the brush. So now I've got this red, and I'm going to put, in fact, I'll leave that red alone because I'm always going to use it for something. So I've got deep red, cadmium red deep, and I'm going to put it next to Hooker's green. So I'm going to wet the brush. Sorry, I've got a wobbly table. And I'm going to pick up just a bit of green. So here we've got a purple. Here we've got a dark red. And so my dark red has now become perfect for a shadow on my strawberry, because my strawberry isn't a pink, it's an orange red. So by adding green to it, I've got a beautiful shadow. You do sometimes need to work a bit bigger than this. This is a 2-0, but I can build that up. Now perhaps I should have left a bit better shadow highlight on the strawberry. And then we're going to go back to the purple and the red. So it's exactly the same red, but we're taking it to a carmine. So that's adding green. That's adding purple. I think that's a bit too purple. So I'm going to put some here. That's dark cyan purple and cadmium red deep. And while I'm there, I'm going to put a bit there. You would not really want to put the purple on the red and vice versa, really. It's okay, but it's not a brilliant idea. So I don't want a purple red, I just want a dull. But I do want to keep the right tone of red. So I can go over that one. Go over that one. It's very warm in this room today. Sorry, guys. Very warm. So, of course, I'm going to... Normally, you would get 2 or 3 little layers out of it, but because of today, not doing very well. And we can just take that down there. I've used the wrong green. Sorry, guys. I've used the wrong green, haven't I? Yeah. I've used the wrong purple red actually, but never mind, it's okay. The green's going to be fine. And luckily this paper can take it. Normally what you would do with a colour book page is do it and then leave it alone. Go in another direction, go somewhere else and do it. Oh yes, so we can't really complain, can we? It's it's nice to be warm, but it does dry your paints out quite quick, which is quite good because it means you don't have to so dioxazine purple and deep cadmium. Deep cadmium. I mean, these colours probably cross over eventually. You've got to be careful you don't catch the purple because these are pure colour, so you've got to be really careful you don't colour them. I just love the fact that as soon as you touch them, they're kind of really nice. So we've got the red, and I'm going to keep adding a bit of purple to give me like a carmine. Of course, this 2-0 brush is quite spectacular for building up some nice tones because it's going to be quite dark in that one, and then that one's under that one. And I just like the fact that you can just keep building up. And when you look at this colour, it's very much like a burnt carmine. So I have certain colours for certain berries. Do. So thanks guys for popping by. I hope everybody's okay. Hopefully there'll be more impromptu weekend live streams. I did an unboxing earlier of my marker pencil case, which I'm quite impressed with. So that's our purple. And then if you took that to the other side, that's what I used for here. So you can use it for different things. Our strawberry could do with a bit of deepness as well. So we want Hooker's green. And deep cadmium. I think I'm just going to use ordinary cadmium red actually, because it's got a bit of a purple thing to it and I didn't really want that, so we'll do with these ones slightly different. So this is our red, so we'll do this here. So we'll give him a bigger brush. So give him his coating, and then we want to keep some of that lovely highlight there, because strawberries always have that highlight, so maybe that's a bit of strawberry colour. So again, if you want to keep the colours out, you can. I just like to pop them back where they belong because I didn't contaminate that. I can now use that. So I've got move that out of the way, come out of the way. So we've got the red, bring the green in. So we don't want a green. So we don't want a red, we want a green. So we need to keep it just on that darkest dirty green we can do. So. You can either do them as light washes, or you can do them as and we're trying to make the mushroom. Sorry guys, we're trying to make the strawberry kind of a bit rounder. You know, it's got to have a bit of form. It's not flat. So we've got blue bottles around here as well. So we can make our. So we've got a nice highlight there, and then we've got strawberry, and then we've got a bit of shadow. We can make a little plump one. So we've got our strawberries. By adding green, we've got our shadow. We've got our alizarin crimson. We've got our cadmium red deep, which is a little tiny bit pinker. And we've added purple to get that shadow. So let's take this one a step further. So that's the purple. So there comes a point when you can't get tonal value any darker than purple. But purple and indigo is in the step. So that makes that dark shadow color, which we use for the blueberry. But if we add some more purple, we take it into a lighter dark. It's still very dark tonally, but it's now slightly warmer. And that works perfectly for perhaps our last or our second last shadow around our holly berries. And of course, there's not been a black or a Payne's grey in sight. I could put a little fronds in there as well. So now we've got our holly berries. And now we need our holly tree leaves. Now I think they're kind of a darker colour. So I'm going to be using, let's have a look at Hooker's Green Dark. So that's Hooker's Green. Hooker's Green Dark is slightly darker. So I'm just going to work over there. Because there's quite a lot of there's quite a lot of leaves. So we need a bit more colour out. And then I'm actually going to look at this one. This is the phthalo. Oh, it's too green, too turquoisey. So I've got that green. Now, in order to get that green to go dark, I'm going to use cadmium red. I've got it here. So you can take a holly berry from a red green, to a strawberry, which is a green red. So I can take my cadmium red, my Hooker's Green, and add some red. And I've got, if I mix it all together, that's a very dark colour. So that's a shadow, but I also want to do something in between. So I've got my really dark shadow. And then I've got a beautiful dark grungy, beautiful dark grungy green. And that's by adding red, cadmium red. Just got a bit of something on there. There we go. This is a bit of a large brush, this one, but it should be fine. Now, of course, on watercolor paper, you can do all sorts, but I'm just going to take a bit of this really dark and then kind of just bob it in. And then we can go back to the green and put bits of that green in as well. Now we can only do this because this particular paper will take a bit extra wet. But it's a really pretty holly leaf. So we'll try different techniques and see which one we like best, because this is a practice page. Again, this is Hooker's Green Dark. I think, was it Hooker's Green Dark? Yeah, Hooker's Green Dark with cadmium red. And I could put this shadow colour down first. Again, guys, you go a lot slower than this if you're doing a colour book page. I just want to have a practice with my wonderful watercolours and different strength of paper. Because I thought the Canson paper you can get anywhere, and they're all about, oops. Now, what I need to do rather quickly is get that off there. And it did come up, most of it came off, so that was quite nice. So let's go back. I think I might want to do smaller brush, actually. Let's see if we can get some finer detail on here. So we've got our Hooker's Green with some colour in it. We can kind of, we can build up some. Shadow. Unfortunately, my watercolors are just melting and drying so quick. It's not giving us time to do very much with them. But we can build up on it quite okay. Let's go back to our little snow. I think I like that one better than that one, actually. That one's more of an orangey colour. Got the best. Oh, we'll do a blue. We'll do a blue. I still like those little flowers. They look very soft now, and they've had a background behind them. I haven't built up on the toadstools, so let's have a look for toadstool colours. So we think we're going to use might use burnt red. I'll scratch a bit of burnt red in there. Oh, I know what I've done. I made a mistake with my mushrooms. I haven't put the fronds on them. Oh, well, never mind. Oh, it's too red, is that? It's more of a reddy brown. So I don't really like that colour. But I've made a mistake with my mushrooms. When I drew them, I didn't put the little fronds on them. Forgot. But if I put that dirty green in there, made a colder kind of brown, so that will be fine. Love the fact this paper can take this kind of dampness. Most watercolors can't. So again, like the fact that if you wanted to do them with a little bit of a watercolor, you could. Right, what I'm going to do now is pick up some of this. And I love dirty colors. I love dirty watercolors. I love colors that look like you've washed your brush out. Oops, and I should have had that down there. Sorry, guys. Yeah. And put a bit of that colour in there. I don't have to be too precise. I've got masking fluid on there, so that's okay. So we'll do them all the same. I just want a warmer colour than that, but it's fine. Right. So I can't believe I've made a boo-boo with that, but never mind, I have. No point crying over it. It's done. So all the steps are going to have that grey on. It's doing quite well, this Canson extra strength. It's doing extremely well. And I've forgotten to put masking fluid on there, but that's fine because part of this was to sometimes use masking fluid and sometimes not, so you could tell the difference, so you didn't have to panic if you didn't have any. So leave that to dry for a second. I did one little teapot. We've got some greens and my small brush. So I'm going to just stay in this area here for a minute. And again, put some of that purple with that green to kind of make a real dark green. Bungle's having a wash. If you're wondering what that noise is, it's normally Alfie snoring, but you can't blame Alfie today. He's in the kitchen being a good boy. And just run out. Oh, the pet. Normally watercolors in England stay wet for ages, but it's about 100 degrees in my it was 42 I think yesterday, but that's in the shade, and of course there isn't much shade. Oh, I quite like that. So I have to remember that the green and purple, which was the shadow for this one, actually worked quite well, more of a green for this one, so that one. Oh, hi Melody. Yes, that's what I'm using. I used it the other day, I think, didn't I? What did I do? I'd forgotten about it and somebody asked me about it. There is a video with it on. Let's see if I can remember which one it is. Oh, of course. It was this, is it Animorphia? It's the one with the black, one with the spider. It was one with the spider, which, I don't know if I've got that handy. Oopsie, was that Imagimorphia? That was Imagimorphia. Hang on a second. There. Yes, and I put it on too wet. I didn't let it dry, and I left it on too long. And when I pulled it up, I damaged the page. But most of the other was perfect, and I haven't actually coloured them. I might do this page next, actually. Just wet underneath. So use the masking fluid to mask out everything on here. So that's what I did with that Melody. I might use these, actually. I might colour that next. Shall I colour that with the next video? I do a little bit more to this one, and then I'll finish that one off because I'd forgotten about that one. I do that terribly, I'm afraid. Let's see if we can get some more. Let's use a bit of sepia. I'll have sepia and Hooker's Green Dark. And get a few more. I mean, that's a beautiful dark green. You can add, like I say, you can add red, but it's not quite, I don't think it's as dark actually. There's not much in it, I have to say, but that red, complementary colours, do something to these. Oh, I tell you what I haven't done these. Look, I'll do these. Oops. This is Hooker's Green and Sepia. I think that's actually quite a nice, rich, dark hollyberry as well. Whereas the other one I've done is more of a dirty, dark, shadowy colour. That's quite a nice green, is that? I think. I may as well do the one that we finished. Oh, we can put a highlight. And I don't think I want to do a highlight because I think I'm just going to, that's going to be the lightest colour. And then when we've done this, I'm sure that a highlight will pop out even more. Whoops. Did a bit there, but never mind. Again, you can go a lot slower than me. My hands just decide they're going to move on their own. So apologies for that. But what we can do now is take that green and put some more sepia to it. So it's just barely a green. Again, it's dried, so. So we can get quite nice colour going. And we can build up some nice shadows as well, which is also quite nice. And since I made a boo-boo with that one. I mean, it's not to photorealism. It's not as good as I normally do. Oh, thank you. I can normally do photorealism where you can put the strawberry and eat it, but not with a line drawing because the line drawing is still there. We have a look at our red and our green. There's a bit of depth to it, but again, it's not up to the usual standard. You know, it's when you can actually want to pick the berry out and pick it up. Again, I don't think I can do that with my oils anymore, but I might be able to do that with watercolour. That strawberry's going bad at the end. I'll try, Melody. Bye, darling. Have a wonderful sleep. I will try to be on tomorrow. It just depends whether people are at home or not, because they kind of spoil everything. So I've got to be a bit careful. It's really difficult, and for some reason that the animals don't behave. But thanks for stopping by. Hope you have a wonderful sleep. Because of course, being at the other side of the planet, you want to go to sleep for everybody else. So you can keep building it up and building it up. But there is a nice little highlight just there. So that's quite nice. The teapot's still got a highlight. I think that's sepia. Again, and that was my phone, guys. Just bear with me. That's a bit late. Oh, I've just got a video uploaded by YouTube. I haven't worked out how to tell everybody that I'm live when I'm live rather than when I'm gone off. So it's a learning curve. Is this YouTube? I think the berries could just do with just a touch. I normally use burnt umber, but actually, sorry, I normally use raw umber, but the sepia just gives an edge, and I don't usually use it neat, but I think we'll have a play. This is what this is. This is to play. This is to play and to iron out things. So again, I think that made them just pop that little bit more. Maybe that highlight is too light. So you can do two things. This is professional watercolor. It will move. Now, do I want to move it too much? I'm not sure. There we go. Oops, I've moved it a bit. You're going to have to clean your brush every time because, yeah. But you might want to keep a highlight more on the two lightest ones, or just on one. Because remember the berry, we took them off the berries and it looks more realistic because they're just a highlight just on that top there. There's a highlight just on that top there. And by taking, there's still a highlight, but by knocking it back, the lightest highlight is on the top. Oh, thank you, Sammy. Thank you. It's not as good as I'm used to doing, but you know, arthritis is what it is, isn't it? It is what it is. But I'm quite pleased that I've got back to creating my own things again. That's made me feel a lot better. As I say, I did have a rather a nasty remark about being, I should be ashamed that I've just done my degree in art because I'm colouring somebody else's work in. And so again, it depends. It depends. So thanks, guys, for stopping by. I will try tomorrow, darling. So yes, I think this was Winsor & Newton. So so back to our little quick sketch. So part one was on the reason for doing this. Part one was on Canson, Bristol. And I wanted to see what the watercolours were like and what the line drawing with my rotary pen was like. Very similar results. If I put these two together, you can see they look really nice together. I did a bit more detail to this one, but the berries are very similar. This is like a watercolor. This is shiny, so you can get more detail on a shiny one. Strawberries I've done slightly differently and taken them. I took them a step further. So you can always get them to one stage and you can always go back, especially with these watercolors. They do move, though. Have to say they do move. So you know they are a watercolor. They are light fast, but they will move. Paper by Canson, and this is 225 by 137.5 pounds, but it did have a water brush sign on it, and that's why I've used it with my watercolors, and it's worked really, really well. I think there's a bit of buckle here, but I did do very wet, but it seems to do quite well. I don't know if it'll go through a printing machine. There's a little bit of a kink where I did, but I did wet on wet. So, you know, I did wet on wet. So you can expect that. And then, of course, you want to work into this and build up like we did with the berries you just keep building up and building up. Now, it takes hours, you know. On the piece, I was on 3 months for my books. You know, if you want to get photorealism, it takes a while. And of course, it's far too boring to watch live. So I've got my favorite photocopy paper that I use for everything. So I've still got quite a lot of color on here. So that was part 1. So the other one I brought is this marker paper, but it's very thin, so I don't think I want to use it because it's too thin. I think the next one I'm going to use, what was this one I bought? This one is Canton Bright White Heavy White cartridge paper. It feels quite thick. It's 180 by 110.5 pounds. It has a marker, it has a pencil, and it has pastel, but it's quite smooth, but it's not as smooth as the board. So I think on the next video I'll be using this one, and we can see how that works out. And the reason I want to do this is because I want to find a paper that will withstand watercolor for my color books. So I'm getting there with the different ideas. A lot of butterflies, trees, lots of different ideas with the mushrooms. I'm just looking for the perfect paper. Sorry. She's looking for her baby. She has to cry for her bungle. She's crying for her bungle. So there's a lot of things puddling around. Hopefully, I do like these little odd little shapes. So, oh, thank you, Sammy. Thank you. So thanks, guys, for stopping by. I'm going to call this one finished. It's another 2-hour one. I think I'll do some shorter ones because the 6.5-hour one's a bit long. So I'll come back and I'll do another another couple of hours with my rotoring pen. So I'm drawing it out with my rotoring pen, and I use a 0.25. Actually, I tell a lie. I'll do that next week. I'm going to do that on Thursday. Sorry, guys. Tell you what I'll do. I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. I'll fill this one in with my markers, my watercolor markers. So that'll be part 2. So I should be 5 minutes, guys. Thanks for stopping by.